Good morning, friends, and welcome to Wake Up in the Word. Thanks for joining me this morning. We are in chapter 14 of Genesis. Grab a good cup of coffee. Let's look at the life of Abram. While we're thinking about that, we're also thinking about the things that have been happening in our own country over the past week. If you live in another nation, you may have noticed, or maybe not, that strange things have been happening in the United States of America. An all-out attack on Christianity is taking place. It's endorsed by the people in our own government. It's endorsed by some people at the head of supposed news organizations who seem to be talking about the agenda of these radicalized Christians, as if Christians are now terrorists that threaten the nation. We watched last week, and especially over the weekend, as crimes were committed, federal crimes, felonies, of trying to intimidate judges, of disrupting houses of worship, of firebombing pro-life organizations. All crimes on the books, yet no arrests have been made. No police officers attempted to stop any of the violence. It seems that left and right, we are seeing this new force rise up from the left that's willing to attack anyone that's not on board with their agenda and do it with violence. What should our law enforcement establishment be doing? Well, defending the people of God. Not happening. As we get to Genesis 14, we run into a very unique time in the life of Abram. You can read in the first 7 verses. I will not try to, read all of these names. A bunch of kings were at war with each other. Yeah, it's life, isn't it? It's what happens. And these kings assailed, assaulted, attacked one another. They would carry off each other's goods. It was just a mess. And involved in that was the king of Sodom and Gomorrah, who were a part of what amounted to be the losers in the battle. Abram, of course, is just taking care of business. He's dealing with his families, his flocks, his herds. He's not in this war. He doesn't have an issue, not with either side. He's just doing what a good family man should be doing at this point, taking care of all the things that are about his household. It's more about feeding the sheep than it is about getting involved in war. Doesn't mean that Abram's not able, but there's got to be a reason. Well, the reason comes way down here in verse 13, because actually we read in verse 12 how they took Abrams nephew Lot, the winners did, and his possessions, for he was living in Sodom, and they went on. So as a part of those folks that they captured, took into slavery, was the family of Abram's nephew Lot. What's Abram going to do about this? Well, he's not going to sit idly by. In verse number 13, it says, one of the survivors came and told Abram the Hebrew, who lived near the oaks belonging to Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and the brother of Aner, and they were bound by a treaty with Abram. Well, when Abram heard that his relative had been taken prisoner, he assembled his 318 trained men. Okay, now watch this. Abram didn't assume he could just live as a pacifist in a land like this. He has those that it says were born in his household. They had been with him all this time, and he has trained them as soldiers. They are weaponized. Yes, they have a right to defend themselves. But in this case, they're going from defense to offense. Abram is taking these 318 trained men against a victorious army of thousands to go rescue his own nephew. It says they went in pursuit as far as Dan, and he and his servants deployed against them by night. That means Abram didn't just send these guys, he was even a part of it at his age. Watch what happens. They deployed against them by night, it says, and defeated them and pursued them as far as Hobah in the north of Damascus. He brought back all the goods and all his relative Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the children and the other people. So here goes Delta Force One. I mean, what else will you want to call these guys? They're the Navy SEALs of the day. It's the trained force of Abram, who against a much larger force snuck in at night, had a successful attack, and everyone they released, of course, they armed, and they were able to turn the tide in this battle, also that he could rescue his relative Lot. Well, as we see what happens tomorrow, the results of this, we're going to find out something about how Abram has grown in the Lord and is a man of such integrity that it'll just blow our minds. It doesn't mean he won't make other mistakes, but he's going to make a tremendous statement about who he is and his relationship with God that we'll look at tomorrow. But in the meantime, I want you to look at this. Is it right to defend yourself against the attacking enemy? Most certainly it is. And right now, Christians, we're going to be facing some difficult choices, as apparently those who do not have ethical or moral standards that would prevent them from doing violence against us are going to be coming after us. Are we going to just take the pacifist notion that you just sit back and let people kill you and become a martyr? Or do you rise and defend yourself in these days? Friends, we were warned by Jesus that people would hate us because we follow him. Everywhere that Marxism and communism has risen up, the first people to be attacked are the Christians. Please don't think you can avoid that. It's down through history. And as you examine history, you'll notice that some of the first ones to go are the priests and the preachers and the strong believers. The people like the Dietrich Bonhoeffers always end up in prison and quite often end up giving their lives for their faith. Friends, what will you do? Will there be enough evidence to convict you of being a follower of Jesus Christ? And will you, like Abram, stand up when necessary to intervene for your friends and relatives and part of the family of faith when necessary? You think those days are coming? Oh no, they're not coming. They're already here. Let's pray that we have the strength that Abram had to stand up for what is right when it's necessary. Well, God bless you. I'll see you again tomorrow right here as we wake up in the Word and look at how so many of these ancient stories may even parallel what's going on right now. God bless you. I'll see you then.